Hello everybody. Today we're going to go over an article that I wrote called Open Source Must Win, and I'm going to show you around like how I've been researching things, what I've been doing. This is a pretty disorganized video. I'm just trying to get back into the groove of posting, so please bear with me. Now, I wanted to give a little bit of background on myself. I am a software engineer. I've been working in the tech industry for the last 8 years and now in AI for the last 2. I've worked with tons of organizations and companies. I've done like meetups to educate people with the help of Anthropic, with their sponsorship. I've worked with various companies in different shapes and forms, mostly as an independent person or independent contributor. Now, I am a big believer in open source. I have worked in open source for the last 5 years at least, and there's many reasons for that, but mainly it's that we are dependent on our technology, our computers, our phones. My life is essentially mostly online, and if I am not aware or if I don't have control over the tools that I'm using, then my livelihood is at risk. This is just one example. There's many other examples that we can go through over this video, but I just want to make it clear why I am interested in open source and why I'm talking about it today. So this is an article that I published again on Friday, and it's mainly been stirred by the current state of things. Like, where are we right now within this AI bubble or this AI trend, and where do I see things going? Now, to preface this, I just want to make sure that it's clear that I believe very strongly in the following things. One is that LMs are not conscious. They are not like actual intelligent consciousness. Two is that they're very inaccurate and they're statistical machines, that we know how they work in a way. Three is that we have very good open source AI companies right now and publishers and labs. They are posting or publishing good things, but the models tend to be mostly focused on coding. Now they're trending towards agentic, but realistically, I've been using GPT 5.4 recently, and it has blown everything out the water. Mainly that it is really good at research. So if I give it a problem, even if it's something that's very novel, it is able to go on RxIV, it's able to research and come back with different supporting arguments and experiments that we should do and all this. And when I try these other models, right, like Kimi, which I really love, Minimax, and to a lesser degree GLM. GLM I find to be more intelligent in terms of like complex problems. But none of them are able to make changes or propose the type of work that would be needed for a very good researcher. Now, I also want to say one last thing and we can move on, which is I don't have any problem with the labs in the United States. I have no bad feeling towards Anthropic or OpenAI or XAI. I find these people to be, very intelligent. They've contributed a lot to science, and I see them as my peers. Realistically, I have conversations with a lot of them, and they've never done anything wrong to me. Just because I have a problem with like closed source or the idea that something that I depend on not being openly accessible and understandable doesn't mean that I have a problem with any of the people or the companies. They have every right to do whatever they want. This is their technology. They've built it. So I just want to leave it at that, and we can jump into the article, and then we can also, while we're doing that, we can jump around and do different things. So one thing that I'm trying to do is set up so just please explain this repo to me. Describe what it's doing and how it works. So this is the Codex app, and I have been using this for the last few weeks, and I've found it to be just really, really good. Despite me not enjoying like desktop applications, I prefer terminals, I prefer working in Zed, but for some reason, this has been really good with research. Also start a Git in it. So let's go over this and we can talk about why I find this to be so good. So the application itself is well organized in that I have these directories, and directories are just projects. You can see them here. They're like folders. And then within the folders themselves, you have threads or just sessions. And you can have sub-threads or like sub-sessions. Essentially, these are sub-agents that you are using. Each one has their own session. And it's been very helpful because it helps me keep everything in mind, especially like you can see here, I'm working on so many different things at the same time. Now, I'm not always working on all these things at the same time, but I do use them a lot. So in a day, I'd go over about like 4 to 8 projects, and that requires a lot of mental, like, it just takes up a lot of space mentally. So I'm going to switch over to reading this. This repo is a research scaffold plus a frozen runtime reference for REAP-guided MOE resident control. It is not a full REAP pipeline. It has a frozen runtime snapshot. You do not edit it by default. An auto-research control layer around the snapshot for reproducibility, experiment bookkeeping, and okay. Now, I have this. I'm going to switch over to Codex Mini, and please let me know when it's set up. So I found the GPT models particularly to be incredibly competent, specifically at research and at back-end tasks. They suck at front-end, and yeah, that's been a huge problem with them. I always have to go back to using Kimi or Claude, but in terms of research, it is just as good as it's going to get. Claude can be helpful in making things work. So whenever I have a problem where I feel like GPT isn't really getting there, I use Claude, and Claude is able to get it to the point where it works. It's just very sloppy. So the consistency of the output between Claude and GPT is wildly different. Claude tends to take a lot of more roundabout like solutions. GPT tends to be a bit more precise. And this adds on over your over like a project's lifetime, right? If you let the slop keep going, it's just going to get harder and harder for them to make changes. So verification exceeded. Okay, send the next command you want to run on the box. Now, just describe how to access it in a markdown prompt. The reason I'm showing you guys this is how I do most of my research. I wouldn't call myself like a particularly talented researcher. I would just say that I've learned how to use these tools to a degree where, things are just easier for me. So I'm going to create a new session in here, and we are going to switch to GPT 5.4 extra high. And one last thing we need to do is take it over to Kimi. I'll show you what's going on here in a second. But essentially what I'm trying to do is figure out how to get expert saliency. So when you have a model that is a mixture of experts, we can go over and we can look at mixture of experts LLMs, and we can take a look at this. It's a good visual. So a mixture of experts LLM is a large language model where it is broken down into let's call them 100 experts. So instead of it being one large model, you can think of it as 100 small models stacked on top of each other. And then for each prompt you give it, it finds the most intelligent or useful experts that's based on what it's been trained on, and then it routes it over to those experts. So this makes it so that you don't have to activate the whole model, so you can get larger models and you can get them to be in a very good speed. For example, Kimi K2.5 is a 1.1 trillion parameter model, and the active models is only 22 billion, which is very small compared to the size of the full model. So hopefully this makes sense as to why I think this is good. Freeze, this is an alternative model target. And let's see, bring up smoke. Okay. Get it running based on the repo. We are doing auto research. We want to train a highly adept second router based on my training data. from all my AI sessions. Okay, now let's go back to the article. Okay, I know I've been jumping around a lot, but hopefully this is going to make sense by the end of the video. Now, if you look at the number of companies that are using AI like globally, right? We went from about 20% of software companies using AI in 2016, 2017. This is like there were AI models back then. They just didn't do what the ones that are here now do. Like they were much more specialized, or they would only serve like one function as opposed to being like a generalizable model. So you could see though the explosion of usage of AI in the workforce. Now, if we go down a little bit, this is me and my kid. I love my kid very, very much. Just 3-4 years ago, right, in 2022, if you talk to GPT 5.3 Turbo, you'd know that like they couldn't do much. They were all right at math, but if you gave it any complex math, it just falls apart really quickly. They had very short context windows. Their intelligence was just lacking. Their hallucination rates were very high. And now in July of 2025, we have Gemini DeepThink, which has gotten a gold medal at a mathematics Olympiad, like an international mathematics Olympiad, being the best, contributor, I guess, to that test. Now, if you just think what that means, within 4 years, we went from a model that isn't able to count how many R's are in strawberry to models that are able to sometimes count how many R's are in strawberry and also do complex math and do automatic research and code up literally anything you want. It has grown at a degree that we have not consciously begun to understand yet. Now, I'm going to just keep going down. If you're a developer, if you're coming at it from like a software perspective, what you've experienced is talking to Claude Code or Codex or Droid or whatever it is, Cursor, and you have used the models in a very specific way. Like, yes, they can do pretty much anything, but you've used them in a very specific way that is personable, right? Like very few people understand what it's like to use AI at scale in a giant corporation to do like mass tagging of information, customer support, right? Like training data generation, synthetic data generation. Like there's a whole bunch of use cases for AI that we are not aware of, right? Or we haven't really thought about because we are working at a scale of a developer working in their terminal, building out products, right? What's happened in the last 4 years is that the amount of AI generated content, you can see it here in the mid 2022, it went from practically 5% to 57% of everything on the internet is AI generated in 4 years, right? And I don't think this is taking into account humans that are publishing AI content under their own personal accounts. So we're not even thinking about that or considering that. So I would say this is much higher probably. We also don't know how to measure this to a certain degree. So if we think about what that means, that over half of the content on the internet is AI generated, we can start to think about the problems that are coming within the next few years. So I am going to skip over this specific part for a bit because it is probably against TOS, but the idea here is that people can no longer distinguish reality from fiction. Now, we've had issues on social media where people say like this president or this head of state is no longer with us, and then they are with us, right? Like videos come out showing them getting hurt, videos come out showing them being alive. Both of them are AI generated, and people are just not able to distinguish things anymore. Now, you and I, maybe we can see it. We look at the hands, look at the teeth, look at the movement, but you better bet that over half of the human population cannot distinguish, right? Take into account old people, young people, people that don't really deal with technology that much. Over half of humans are not able to distinguish what is going on in the screen in front of them. And so you can imagine like the issues that come up with this. You have basically content that depicts races of people as inferior or dirty. You have like things that are meant to piss you off or make you angry. You have like just horrible things beyond our imagination. I'm going to scroll past this for a second and we can continue. All right, there you go. Also, I wrote about this issue here where 25% of Americans live in some capacity off of driving, right? So if you are a truck driver or an Uber driver or a forklift driver, you work on something that is ripe for automation, right? And think about what that means, not just for the person losing their jobs, right? The 40-year-olds, the 50-year-olds that begin losing their jobs, but their families and their communities, right? If this one person doesn't have enough money to take their kids to the zoo on the weekend, then the zoo is getting less people, and you can see how this like spirals very quickly down into economic issues. And the only reason we don't have self-driving cars practically everywhere is because the government is trying to slow this process down. I guarantee you that we could have had self-driving cars globally in the last 5 years if things weren't being slowed down deliberately. Maybe it's best that they are being slowed down, but this is a threat that we need to start thinking about. Self-driving cars has been entering Europe, and European markets are like very strict. So the fact that it's being accepted into European markets means that it's going to soon be accepted into Asian markets, into African markets, South American, and then eventually, basically every transportation job is going to be taken over by AI. There's no way that's not going to happen. Like, think about how many deaths that's going to prevent. So there is a positive to it, but economically, this is going to be very painful for us. Now, governments, right, and talking about the US government here, are essentially trying to force the hand of AI companies to do their bidding. I'm not going to comment on whether this is good or bad or this is right or wrong. That's not the point. But the point is we are using the same models that we code with, like Claude, to decide who gets to live and die in third world countries, right? This is a thing that's happening right now. And we are blaming our mistakes as a country on these LLMs, right? We are blaming the mistakes of people within corporations on LLMs. And this is only going to get worse. We're at a very infant stage of this technology, so this is just going to get worse, and we should keep that in mind. Last thing is that the latest chips by NVIDIA, the Vera Rubin stack with the Grok LPU, the issue that's going to start here is that these are very expensive pieces of hardware, $6 million a rack. And if you are purchasing, you probably need more than one rack. These chips are restricted to the United States, at least for the next 2 generations. And they're meant to decrease cost by 10x and increase throughput by 10x. So you're technically getting around 100% better, like 100x better performance. And what that means is if you're an American company and you can pay $6 million or more, obviously, to purchase these machines, you are going to have a massive advantage over every other country in the world. They cannot compete with you on prices anymore. Like, you cannot have a Chinese company that is trying to compete with American companies on prices. American companies can bring down the costs incredibly because it costs them 10 times less to give out the same amount of usage. So you have to keep that in mind when we think about what's going to happen in the future. Sorry about that, I need a drink. Right now, we are in a golden age of compute. We have abundant compute, abundant subscriptions. Everything is very easy to get. You are getting free usage everywhere. Like, I can install OpenCode right now on a new machine and have free intelligence, right? I can just run it and have an agent that can do practically everything. It's dumber than GPT and Claude, but it can do literally anything. And what we know about these types of trends is that, for example, with Lyft and Uber and all that, the cost goes up drastically as the competition dies down. And so we want to try to avoid that. In the United States, there's been a movement in startups. I've been a part of many startups. I've consulted. And I know for a fact that we are telling people that they need to use AI to keep working. So, right, like if you want to hire, like if you have a problem and you need help, don't hire another person. You use the AI first. And so we're forcing people to use this. So we're embedding it within corporations, within governments, within like practically everything. And it is taking over our society. Now, I pay $200 a month for GPT Pro, and I'm not complaining about this. I'm very happy that I get this, but this is in one day, I spent $800, 2 billion tokens in 24 hours. So, how is this going to be sustainable? And you might say, well, it's really not that expensive. They're making wild profits off of this. That's not true because in order to get 2 billion tokens in 24 hours, you need at least like 8 GPUs running practically on just this problem, like on just this person, right? Because if you think about 2 billion tokens, how do you get that? Well, I'm running like 10 sessions at a time. So I basically hold up at least 8 to 16 of their GPUs at all times. And I think it's closer to 16, if not more, because they're probably around a trillion parameters, maybe less, but a trillion parameters means you need 2 terabytes. 2 terabytes means you need something like 16 of the highest end GPUs, and those cost about $25 an hour for for 16 is probably like $30 an hour. So the economics of this just don't make sense, right? And this is going to get worse and worse and worse because they will eventually need to stop giving out money for free. They're going to get less investments, whatever it is. Unless they can bring down the cost significantly, I don't see how they're going to continue to do this. Now, we are entering into a new world, right? Like this technology is embedded everywhere. They can talk, they can see, they can control machinery, robots, cars. They have access to funding, like money. A lot of LLMs are running around the internet with money, with credit cards. I have my own like OpenClaw that's running with my credit card. And so this thing can go and do practically anything it wants. And they have control over millions of computers, at least, of like high earning individuals. So this is just something that we have to just keep in mind. And I know I'm repeating this a lot, but we need to be aware of what's going on. Now let's just jump back in here and we can see GPT is running experiments on my GPU. So I have 8 GPUs on, let me get the link so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. I have 8 GPUs on NVIDIA Brev, and thankfully NVIDIA has given me access to these GPUs, and I give it to GPT, and the goal for it is to train a router that helps us go predict which model, which experts are going to be activated. Okay, let me just read this for a second. It remains uncertain. Okay, train secondary. Okay. And the smoke, okay. Frozen corpus. Also on the sampled local data, Claude yielded prompts immediately. Do you know what you need to do with the GPUs on Brev? And let's make sure that plan mode is on. So this is what I want to demo now as we discuss this topic, is that these models have gotten really good at research. And research is like a very generic thing. You could research anything. You can research how to make more money. You can research how to test like different technology. You can research how to optimize practically anything, your SEO, whatever, how many like followers you have, etc. So right now we're trying to research how to fit very large models on much smaller amounts of compute, maintaining high quality. So do you know what you need to do with the GPUs on Brev? And do you have everything you need? So here's what we're doing. We have GPT 5.4. This is probably the best model for research. I gave it 8 GPUs that were gifted to me by NVIDIA, and I gave it a thread from the let's see, I'm going to just get the link straight up so that we don't have a problem. And There you go, and I will close this, and we can take a look at what I've been doing. So this has been my strategy practically with everything, is I have GPT 5.4 Pro. You can open this, and you can see I have Pro selected. I give it like a scope of work, essentially, and then I have a discussion with it. And once it figures out what I'm trying to do, it'll explore, it'll research, it'll come back. You see it thought for 48 minutes. And it just checked a whole bunch of stuff. And once it's done, it comes back to me with like a setup for my research. So a setup meaning, what is the model changing? What are the results? How do we track it? All this stuff. What is the purpose? What is the goal? And so I can just give it a prompt, and it comes back to me with like a zip with everything in it. And now once I get it, so which model should we bring up? Kimi exhibit. What should count as your training corpus for the all sources now? All sources now. So we should also maximize throughput. So basically, I take that scope that and that environment that GPT 5.4 Pro gives me, I pass it on to this one in the app, and then I let it run. And it'll make a lot of mistakes, but you can see here that it's going in, it's finding the GPUs, it's going to work with them, and it'll come back eventually. It creates the memory, the scope, and it'll tell me this is what I'm going to do over this many hours. Once it does that, I start queuing up practically everything, right? So I'll have a scope that's like a few hours long, and then I'll just queue everything up. So I'm going to read this again, and we can go over it. Yes, I know that the GPUs, okay, wait. So, yes, I know the GPUs need to do as of March, Okay. What I need to do with it, based on the repo's choices, exhibit first of all sources now, okay. Not yet, what I'm missing. Model access details on the brev box, if any gated auth is required. The all sources now extractor path, but not yet. Remote engine bootstrap specifics. You don't need anything specific. Get to work. Okay, it can figure itself out. And so once I do that, I can just do like this. Continue. Once it knows what it's supposed to do based on the plan, I could just give it all this. Now, obviously, I use a lot more details than what I'm showing you guys here. I'm not just going to say continue to it over and over again, although you could. I typically just like, okay, clean up, okay, go do this, okay, go get me more data, run more experiments, and it tends to keep itself on track. Another thing that I do is I stack automations on it. Now, I pause them when I'm done, but automations, basically, I set them up for every hour. So every hour, it's going to prompt GPT 5.4. Hi, with the details here, I see that I have leaked a Hugging Face key, so I'm going to remove that, but it's okay, so we can go in here since we already fucked it up. Now, I have found a concrete backwalker that matters. On the brev box only has about 200, which is below the, okay, I'm checking whether the machine has amount or enough space before I freeze the plan. We could also, okay, I'll let it do what it's going to do. Okay, let it do what it's going to do. Now, I know that we are switching topics a little bit, but I just kind of want to demonstrate like why I think that this is so dangerous. Let's see. First, can you run this locally, please? Open it in your browser. I don't know if they have a browser in Glass. So this is Cursor Glass. They gave me access to it very recently. This is the newest model. It's called Composer 2. And we can see it here. Execution steps after you approve this plan. You can go ahead and all right. So let's see if it can actually. Oh, it does have a browser. Now, you know, I don't want to like this because it's not open source, and also I don't I don't like how many subscriptions I'm paying for. It's just insane how much I'm shilling out per month for all this stuff. But it is fun and useful. Let it do its thing. So this is the newest model, Composer 2 by Cursor, and it is trained off of Kimi K2.5, which is probably one of my favorite models, like in the top 3 for sure, and it's very fast. And so right now we are going to work on this site that I have, which lets you see all of the benchmarks and all of the different models and their different quantizations and what you need in terms of hardware. While we do that, except throughput first, factory, yes, implement this, which is keep the current Nebius box for validation only. Do not use it as the final exit host because its root disk has about below the, okay, I'm implementing the plan, train sheet predictive policies. All right, and only run narrow online throughput matrices is the first real remote target. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is it starts that task list, and I'll just basically queue everything up for it in a row and let it handle things one by one. Now, okay, and as you can see, now going back to the article that we were discussing, also this is a cool example of something I wanted to show you as well. Let's open it in Brave. I track daily like my AI usage. So this is another automation that I have in Codex. Okay, that's much better. So this is another automation that I have in Codex to see like how much money I'm spending, how many tokens I'm spending, etc. And you could see here with Codex, this is for the month, like the last 30 days. I have 42 billion tokens. Factory is second with 1.85, Pi is third, and Claude is fourth. And these are the agents, right? And you could see here that it has read 42 billion tokens, and it goes up and down. So I have periods where I'm running like very heavy workloads, and you could keep track of everything here. And so these are the examples of like things that actually there is one last idea that I have before we head out for today. So I also don't know why the hell they put it there. It's such a bad place to put it. It's okay. We are going to look at providers and custom. Sorry, thank you for bearing with me. I do want to hear how you guys are like dealing with all this. Like, what are you guys doing? If you could leave that in the comments, I would be very happy to like get an idea of what you guys have been working on. Because in my opinion, like from what I'm seeing, this technology has gotten so good so quickly. And I am really concerned that we don't have as much effort being put into open source. And I think that's where it boils down to, because everything I'm showing you today is that these models are capable of automating a ton of work. So let's go with GitHub. Let's see, github.com /oxero/parchi and github.com Zeitgeist. I want you to review the two. Tell me the differences, specifically what browser AI or like what Parchi is missing feature-wise. So the reason I'm demoing this right now is that, like, if you think about it, a person's job, if they work like online, if they do like tech mostly, is going on the browser, reading some data, writing some data in a very specific format, following workflows, documenting those workflows, reporting their work. That's essentially what work is. Whether you're a software engineer, a designer, a media person, right? Your work tends to boil down into CRUD in the browser. And if we can right now, today, automate all CRUD, as you can see here, I have it. I give it like 2 repos. I tell it to review, and then it comes back to me with a full description of everything that has happened, everything that should like come in next, and it gives me actionable items. So I've used this to get AWS keys configured, GCP keys configured, manage my billing, decrease my spending, do budgeting for me, do PRs for me, do research for me, automate essentially approving people into certain things. All of this could be automated right now. And I used to have to pay people for this. I used to run my own agency, and I had a few people working with me. And I was essentially like the salesperson plus the QA. So that's kind of what it boiled down to. I was the founder, and I was doing sales and QA, and I would sometimes work to help others. And I'm not complaining about the people. I love a lot of them. I am very happy to have met a lot of them. They were good people. But the amount of work that it took to manage other people, I never want to do that again. That's why I stopped with the agency. And now I feel like I get better results from this, right? It's more precise. It listens to me better. It does what I need it to do. It doesn't complain. I don't have to pay it. I pay for the subscriptions, but this is what I want to do. And I think a lot of corporations, they're going to have a harder time. I need to continue getting, okay, so it had a tool call failure. Continue, please. Let's see if it's gonna fail to continue properly. Once a tool call failure happens, okay, it is able to continue properly. That's good. But I feel like I get better results out of this. And my concern is that, isn't that like AI is more intelligent than people? It's that we don't have a solution for what happens when all this gets automated, which it is possible right now, and it is going to happen within the next 2 years. Everything's going to be automated, or a lot of it is going to be automated. And you're going to have people that have to review, a lot of people that have to fix issues. But what happens to the average worker in that case? It's something that you should think about. How are you positioned to handle this? So open source AI is important for a single reason. It's that if we think of AI as a fundamental tool in the workforce, we need to be able to control this tool. We need to be able to work with it, understand how it works, improve it, customize it. And if all of our intelligence is going to be cooped up within a few labs, it's going to be very concerning when things just stop working, or prices start raising, or they add ads to it. All this stuff is real, and it's going to happen. Hopefully this video was helpful. I know it's a bit all over the place. Thank you for watching.